Hello, welcome to Nezzo's Bad Shop. It's Nezzo, your host again, and guess what? I finally am back behind the camera talking to it, and you are looking at the Traxxas Fortec RTR. Finally, I've got this thing on track for Shakedown filming, and I've been driving it a lot, so has everybody else at the track here. I've been giving it to everyone. This car came to me courtesy of Matt from Scale Builders Guild, so big shout out to him. This is his car, his stickers on the windshield. And he loaned me the car so I could do some testing and some crazy tuning and whatever else, because whole new, well, not really whole new, this car, this Fortec platform, released way back in like 2001 or 1998 or something like that. I looked it up. I think it's late 90s. But anyways, the latest sort of iteration version is this one, the rear wheel drive version, which is for drift. And yeah, Matt lent it to me so I could do some videos, and he wanted to see what kind of tuning I could do to this car, because there's lots of potential. Yes, so as I get into all the potential and all the talkings and trying to remember what's good and all that, there's a lot of good things about this car in terms of features and things like that. So I do like it straight away. I do like it quite a bit actually for what it is and the price point it's at, which is I think roughly about $450 Canadian. RTR all in, radio, battery, 2 sets of tires, outdoor and indoor, and all the typical Traxxas electronics, XL5 ESC, basic blue, super slow servo that's giving us tons of weeble wobble in the front, lots of hunting action. You can see it, look for it, there it is, you'll see it more here. Look at it, shake, 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 shake your front end, so much so that it may cause you to spin out. It will do gutters, it will do gutter run, this car. But because the blue Traxxas servo, the waterproof one that comes in the TRX4s and all that thing, because it is so painfully slow, the internal TSM Traxxas system that they've retooled for drifting, that actually works pretty well. But what you're seeing, all this weeble wobble action in the front end, that's not the driver, that's not the TSM system's gyro, which is built into the receiver. That's the servo. Just the servo simply can't keep up. So I would say 90% of this car is pretty nice and works pretty damn well, especially out of the box. Traxxas got the tuning correct, which I will talk about in a bit, but the servo's just too dang slow. So basically, the harder you try to drive this car out of box on a track like this, polished concrete, the more you're gonna have to work. And my driver today, Brian from Team Strictly Sideways, he is pretty much just driving this casually. So once you see the car get into an angle, you don't really see the jitter that much because he's just casually driving it around. Now, as I follow it closely here, you're gonna see lots of weeble wobble in the front end. Ready? Look at it. Look, more, a little more. But as you go around a corner steady and smooth, there's not that much. But there's some more weebling. The moment you start doing switchbacks and start actually driving and pointing in a different direction, that's all you can see is the front end wobbling around. So if you ignore that, when you drive it, if you straight up ignore it, or whatever surface you're on doesn't do it, which is very rare, then it's fine. Look at it, it's fine. It holds its angle beautifully. And only having 60 degrees of steering angle, in this case, actually doesn't matter that much, because look, it drifts fine actually. It holds its line, has more than enough power with its 21 turn brushed motor in a 550 size. And honestly, if you can't drift with a basic brushed motor, you don't need boost. So the main issue with this car is the servo, really, in my eyes. And once that's changed, which I have been given permission to modify this car, so I've been dying to film it, and in its out-of-box form as it is here, and then start tuning it. So for the price point and the equipment you get and the fun factor, yeah, it's totally worth it. Works pretty good actually, and me and the boys were thinking, hey, let's just go buy a bunch and go to a tennis court and just throw down for quite a bit, because it does work decent. Decent enough we can have quite a bit of fun with it. And for us that have been driving for years, an offering like this is a good fun challenge. After a while, lots of guys were having fun seeing how hard they could push this car in its out-of-box form. And you can do it pretty good. A lot of people will simply just hate this car because of the brand name of it, Traxxas. Some people have been turned off by Traxxas, and for many of good reasons. There's many I could throw up on screen right now, but I'm not going to. You can use Google and type it in yourself. But otherwise, no, the car does work pretty good in terms of the tuning. they got the front end correct. And what I mean by that is when you turn it up to its 60 degrees of angle, those front wheels are flat. Check it out. Look how flat that is. Look at it. Flat, 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 flat. Along with the weeble wobble of the servo hunting, trying to keep up. But you see how flat that front wheel is at 60 degrees. So the car has no problem gripping up and tracking the corner. Look at that. No problem at all. I can even show you that it can do gutters. Check it out. You watch it dip through the gutter without breaking a sweat. No problem, other than the servo trying to keep up. So I mean, yeah, there's many good things to like about it. There are 6 different colors for the body. I can't remember which color I was going to get if I got it, but Matt from Scale Builders Gear was sent this beautiful red one, and it does have the new Dark Horse style RTR Mustang, I think, or whatever. Someone was giving me all the names of it or whatever. Basically, it's the new Mustang body, and it does look really nice. Mounts on via 2 clips, which I can illustrate in a second. But in terms of how well this works out of the box, for the money and the availability, and let's not forget, parts support is a massive thing these days. Traxxas parts are everywhere. Even at one point, they were all up in Best Buys and stuff like that too. So I mean, yeah, you can find parts pretty much anywhere. And oh, there's Trevor trying to get a bumper slap. Oh, look at my test driver, Brian Boy. He has no trouble putting this thing along the walls, choosing where he wants to go. The front end is just working so good, the rear end complementing. And we actually have the indoor tires on this car currently. I haven't driven it with the outdoor tires, but it does work pretty good. Look at that, huge flick send. He got a little bit out of shape, but he was able to collect it up. And yeah, so the car does work pretty good. So as soon as I get to tune it, first thing I'm changing is the servo, see how it goes, and then I might put my radio on it, my Futaba 10PX, etc., or whatever, and then we're gonna hammer it out. But yeah, it does work pretty good, and I did like it right away. And the other major thing about this car, it has 3 driving modes. Now, the mode we have it in here is what I'd call normal mode, which is basically like any other drift car setup with a standalone gyro and servo and that sort of thing. So all the only assist here is just the gyro gain, and that will a little spin out. So it's just basic gyro gain like any other drift car, just like this other car that's entered track now. This is Trevor from Team Hit and Run. So his car has a standalone gyro in it, and so that's how we've set up the Traxxas currently. The Traxxas is at like I think 50% gain in this mode, but there's 2 other modes. One is full assist, one is half assist. So here's a little demonstration of, it might only have a 21.5 550 sized brushed motor, but as you can see, casual tandem, that Traxxas has no trouble staying with and even somewhat trying to match the angle of the car in front of it. Even if it gets gapped down the straight, it can still enter pretty well and get right back up and have some fun tandem. Look at that. Look at that. So now you can see as well, the harder Brian is having to drive the Traxxas, you can see how much harder that servo is having to work, and there is definitely more weeble wobble action going on the front wheels. There, you see it? See it weeble as it works hard? You'll notice he's putting it on the door. Now if Trevor in his car starts turning the speed and heat up, oh yes, that's another interesting feature. In normal mode, for whatever reason, Traxxas decided in normal gyro-only mode, you will have no reverse, which I don't understand that. I mean, in competition, you don't want reverse when you're battling, so I don't understand why they disabled reverse in normal gyro mode, other than they're maybe thinking you're going to put this in a competition, but they didn't label this as a competition car, which I'm actually quite happy about, because it's not really a comp spec car, but it has the right things that you could totally send it into a competition, like adjustable turnbuckles. MST don't have adjustable turnbuckles, never had on any of their RTRs. So, you know, something to look forward to when you go to tune it. You have turnbuckles, you can change size of links and things like that. But anyways, yes, back to the modes. The full assist mode, if you enable that, the TSM system in the radio and the receiver will handle, they will assist your throttle action and will assist your steering. So basically, it dulls out the throttle so you don't give full power straight away. It rolls up the throttle. And for steering, you basically just steer it left or right very little, and the system handles the rest of the counter steer and gyro assisting. So you don't really do any counter steering, you just sort of point it where you want to go and rev up the throttle. And in that mode, it also has spin out assist. So if the system thinks you might spin the car out, it cuts the throttle, it works the steering, and prevents you from spinning out. And it actually kind of works, which we were surprised at. So that was cool to see. The half assist mode is where the throttle is assisted and the steering is left open. So you do more of the steering counter with the gyro assist, and only the system does your throttling where it rolls up the throttle. I believe that's how the half mode works. But here right now we are just showing off standard mode. So basically gyro assist only, got to do all the throttling, got to do all the steering. But as you can see, in a driver's hands, and I guess we could say a comp driver's hands, Brian's no stranger to competitions, has won at least a few of them by now, I believe, and has several trophies. Same with Trevor, and these guys know how to drift. So putting it through the paces, and as you can see, it messed the entry up. But as you can see, pushing this car along as hard as it will go, it will do it. You just have to really work it. And the only main downside is, okay, you only have 60 degrees of angle. But again, if you can't hold a drift angle with only 60 degrees, you're not going to be able to do 70, 80, or even 90 degree entries. So this is a good way to learn. And then I thought about, what if you want to get into RC cars and you want drifting to be your first car? Well, the Traxxas Fortec RTR is probably the way to go, because it has the assist modes, because it comes with everything you need other than batteries, and there is a good amount of adjustability. And the price point is quite good at $450, and parts are highly available and things like that. So if this was to be your first RC car, and your first RC car, you wanted it to be a rear-wheel drift car, which are a little bit harder to learn off the hop, this car would really help you along with both learning how to drive an RC car, but then also how to drift as well, because of the assisting modes. So when I had that thought, I think I then had the brainwave, I should say, that yes, this car is definitely worth the money for what it is and how it performs out of the box. The real only major gripes I have is really that servo being too slow. Honestly, everything else about it works pretty dang good, and I was even skeptical about the assisted modes because they didn't make sense to me at first when I first tried them, but then I had to think, what if I know nothing? Then when I drove the car pretending I knew nothing, then things made sense with the assist modes, because then the car was helping me out. So that was all pretty interesting to come across and experience, and yeah, as you can see, look, it's still pounding around here, still sending it with Trevor's hit and run machine. And I believe what's your car, an MC1? An MC1 YD2 hybrid, we'll call it. It's a Trev D is what it is, but regardless, the Traxxas has no problem staying with it, and for the most part trying to match maximum angle, which is very pleasing. So if I were to compare this to a couple other RTR cars, it's right up there. The only thing that this Traxxas lacks that the other RTRs have is a bit more angle. But as I was saying about the MST RTRs, they don't have adjustable turnbuckles. So there's that. The YD2s, what's wrong with the YD2 RTR or the Rookie Drift 1 and 2 RTRs? They come with friction shocks. They don't even have oil-filled plastic shocks, whereas the Traxxas, that guy right there, he's got oil-filled shocks. So that says a lot. And if I compare this car to the Red Cat RTR, well, to be honest, there's no comparison, because the Red Cat RTR almost didn't work properly out of box. The shocks were seizing up out of box. The ball cups on the ball studs were so stiff the suspension wouldn't move properly. Yeah, the Red Cat RTR was dang near undrivable till we had to put some work and money into it. Some other people had some slightly better success, but on a polished concrete indoor track, yeah, no, the Red Cat just could not do anything. And if I put the Traxxas, like this 4Tech RTR right here, if I put this one in its box stock form against the Red Cat RTR, this car will run rings around the Red Cat RTR out of the box. Once they're tuned, it's a whole different story, but I'm talking out of the box performance, just straight up, pull it out of the box and go. And this car, for the most part, we pulled it out of the box, or at least Matt said he pulled it out of the box. He put a battery in the car, he put a battery in the radio, and everything worked right away. Which says a lot, because the Yokomo RTRs, well, they don't test them at the factory, so you have to double check everything. And the last Rookie Drift 1 or 2 car we sold here and then I set up for a customer, well, he wanted to just take it out of the box, put it on track right away. And as soon as he put it on track, he pulled full throttle and the car went full throttle in reverse. So that wasn't good, so that's not really ready to run. The MSTs nowadays, they come with the front wheels off the car, so you have to bolt the front wheels onto the car. Some people say that's not a big deal, but is that ready to run? Not really, because you got to install the wheels. Then you have to decide how you want to mount the body on your MST, because they don't drill the holes in it in case you want to run magnets, but that means you have to purchase a set of magnets, which means you got to buy them when you buy the car. Or you can use the included body posts and drill the holes yourself in the pre-marked spots, which is dandy. Except MST does not provide you body clips for those body posts, so you'd have to purchase or find a set of those. And so the MST out of the box is roughly 15 to 20 minutes before you get it on track, which not really ready to run, is it? So in terms of what is raw, ready to run, throw batteries in it and go, this car right here. Right now, in terms of what's the most ready to run, quickest to buy, throw batteries in and go to a tennis court and throw down, it's the Traxxas 4Tech for me all day long right now. At one point though, sometime soon, I'm definitely going to get a Traxxas 4Tech, a Red Cat, and a Yoko RTR, and a MST RTR, whatever version it is, and I want to throw them all head to head, all right out of the box, open them all at once, and I'll literally show you which one hits the track first, because of which is the easiest to throw a battery in and which works properly right out of the gate. And I think I covered everything mostly on this car, other than just bringing it over, popping the body off, and showing y'all what it looks like inside and going over that. So, Brian Boy doing some epic driving and showing off this thing. The e-brake, there is an e-brake button on the radio. I forgot to tell you about that too. There's an e-brake button on the radio, so if you need to learn how to use an e-brake, the e-brake button will work. However, the e-brake button is temporary. If you hold the e-brake button down, it's Trevor messing with him. If you hold the e-brake button down, it gives you braking for about a second and a half, and then it lets go, and it doesn't give you brakes anymore until you press it again. So it's a temporary brake, but you can still flick the trigger away forward, and then you can flick the trigger away for an e-brake action, so there's that as well. I forgot to mention that. Yeah. So on that, I'll let Brian Boy complete this lap, and then I'll have him park it right in front of me, and then I can pop the body off with the two little body clips. Two little mount clips that are underneath. I'll show those off in a second. But yeah, I've been waiting forever to film this. I've probably had this in hand for 3 weeks to a month now. Finally had a chance to film it. Brian Boy's bringing it in here. There it is. Yes, the Traxxas 4Tech. So, I will now, there's a clip right here, right under here. Pop, see that? There's the hole for it right there. And then for the back side, it's right under the back here. Ready? Pop. So there's the mount right there. So in terms of where are the clips, there's the back one, there's the front one. Easy clip, easy access. I like that about Traxxas, how they do make these sort of unique mounts. And because this is a hidden clip style body mount that stays on really well when you hit the wall and stuff, it makes your body look scale, yo, because no body mount holes, no clippy things, it's just smooth like a real car, so that's cool. Now, onto the chassis. So as I was saying, I'm going to turn it off here so I can illustrate things. So as I was saying, as you can see, only about 60 degrees of lock. But we were talking about this today. Most angle kits for real cars, most of them only have about 60-odd degrees, and the professional FD cars, they're running maybe max 70, 75 apparently, from what my buddies are saying. Boys who drift in real life who know about that sort of thing. I only read about it and watch it on YouTube, but these guys experience it, so that's what they were telling me. And so, to be honest, treat this as it is out of the box, like a street car that doesn't have an angle kit, because that's pretty much how it drives. It's really smooth. Just the harder you try to drive it, the more the steering servo, that blue servo in there, look at it, whatever the number is, the 2075 waterproof, super slow, bleh, slow thing, but it works. It just works. Yeah, so other than that, the XL5 ESC, which everybody knows about these things, they'll only last so long, but to be honest, it works pretty good. And because actually both the servo and that are waterproof, brush motors, not affected by water unless you really run them in water a lot, but they're technically waterproof. This radio box is sealed, and that's very similar to the ones you get on other Traxxas vehicles and like the Crawler, TRX4 and all that stuff. So you can drift this through water, which I actually kind of wanted to before changing a lot of stuff, but who knows. Not a big thing on my to-do list, but I'll get to it eventually. And then yeah, like I was saying, 21 turn 550 sized drift motor, the Titan one from Traxxas. If you can't drift with this much power, if you don't think this is enough power, you can't drift with this, you don't need boost or any other kind of brushless censored motor, because you know that would be too much power for you. But this is perfect to learn with. This is more than enough power to learn with, and as you could see with the hit and run Trev D car from Trevor on track, yeah, it had no problem keeping up with it. So continuing to examine the chassis here, just want to also point out that this Traxxas LiPo that is in the car did not come with it, okay? This RTR does not include batteries. It's a thing, you can't ship them with LiPos anymore. So you don't get batteries in the radio, and you do not get this battery. But for coolness of the video, Matt from Scale Builders Gear provided me with his Traxxas PowerCell 5800 ID spec battery. Yeah, they require ID chargers and all that fun stuff. So anyways, we're using the whole Traxxas ecosystem essentially. But every time I drive this, you know, it's a fun challenge to see how well I can do. And I could easily stick a shorty battery in here and put a little piece of double-sided foam to prevent it from moving, concentrate the rate more rear. I could move this on top of there, I could move this on top of there, or whatever. There's many things that can already be done, or things you can move to shift weight or this or that. It's, some people online, you know, they were just straight up hating because of the Traxxas name, or just being like, oh, it's untunable and this and that and the other. I'm sorry, what are these? Like I was saying, yeah, that's a turnbuckle, and you can adjust the rear camber right there. And look, see these two holes right here? The Fortec is a touring car, and I'm pretty sure that they've already designed a rear active tow setup at some point for one of the versions of this car, so that's potential. Or y'all that like the TK style mount, moving this link down there, you can do that right now. Look, TK style mounting on the Traxxas right there. Move that link down, bam, way you go. So, and it's more direct drive than most cars that have 3 or 4 gauge transmissions. Pinion, spur, diff ring gear, diff pinion. And there's the diff spur gear right there, bam. So it's a little more direct drive in that sense. But yeah, turnbuckles, and look, ooh, oil-filled shocks. These got oil in them. Ooh, so you got good dampening, much like all of the other RTRs except all of the Yokomo RTRs. They all run friction-based shocks, which have no oil in them, and it's just 2 pieces of plastic going in and out of each other. So that's not very good. Although it's soft, it's very boingy, whereas this goes up and down once. Look. Up, down, that's it. It doesn't go, I'll show that again one more time with my hand. It doesn't go, so yeah. If I had the cars all lined up here, I'd illustrate it, but that would be for another video. And yeah, to be honest, tunability, you can put spacers up in here, cut that, whatever. There's an adjustable steering link, so you can do tow and change your Ackermans. While there is a fixed link here at the steering, it's not that big of a deal because you can do the Ackerman from the steering turn link, and to be honest, to change that isn't that big of a deal. And on this car, changing one link, that's not a big deal, considering on the MST you got to change like pretty much all of them, you know. So there's that. And then what's next here that I can talk about? So in terms of the geometry, look at the knuckles are decent enough. You get sealed bearings, so you can throw it around in the water, and well, water won't really get in there right away. And there's also, look, scale brake calipers. Ooh, brake disc and brake caliper. Ooh. Some people were telling me online they only buy car kits that have scale brake disc and rotor because they want it to look like a real car. So fair enough. So look, the Traxxas has it. Some of the RTRs don't come with that. And then, oh yeah, the tuning. So even though we only got 60 degrees, if we look from the front end downward here, look at the Ackerman we got. Lead wheel, definitely directing where we're going. Chase wheel, chasing along nicely. So we've got nice positive Ackerman going on here. And when we straighten the wheel out, the toe is pretty straight actually. I'd say if anything, barely half a degree, but it looks pretty straight on. But in terms of when we actually turn in, yeah, this is why it handles corners so nicely, even though the servo can't keep up. The car is tuned for this because This Ackerman is positive and good. The lead wheel is going to constantly direct us where we're going, no matter where we steer it. And then aside from that, like I was illustrating while the car was driving, look how flat that wheel is at 60 degrees. Look how flat it is. It's complete contact. This is how I tune cars here at our track, the Strictly track here, Strictly Sideways polished concrete track. This is how I tune them, basically. Zero caster. As we can see, this has been moved all the way to the front, and look, there's a hole there, so you can move the caster. There's 3 holes, 1, 2, 3 under there. If I had my 2mm hex, I would illustrate this, but there's adjustments here for caster, so yeah, you can adjust the caster. Some of the other cars you can't, RTR. And yeah, so the wheel is flat pretty much at 60 degrees with the zero caster. And when I checked the camber, if you can see that with your eyeball, you're looking at a -6 front camber. And with the toe set the way it is, in this front end, when I first measured this up and looked at it, I was like, this is basically what I call my Bad Shop V1 tuning spec, where I tune someone's car, and when I give them my version 1 tune, so they can learn their car because they're new to the hobby or whatever, or they're ready for a basic level of tune to expand their driving. This is what I do. So I do that, and then in the rear, when I measured the rear camber, I think we were at -1.5 or 2, no more than 2. It was about 1.5 to 2, and honestly, that's okay enough for these tires and the surface and the power available as well. When we put more power in this, we're going to have to adjust the rear camber probably down to about -3. But other than that, it's good, and everything works really nice. Oh, it's back here as well, I forgot to mention, there is a spool diff, so this is just like a RWD RDX spool diff. Some of the other RTRs have gear diffs in them, but most of the others do have spools, I think, for the most part. MST's is a spool, I believe, and Yokomo's is a gear oil diff, like the standard YD2. Red Cat, I think, had a diff in it as well, but the diff doesn't really work. Well, the diff works, but it's pretty dulled out by the rest of that car's performancing. Look, there's adjustments on the knuckle here, like, you know. So people that were telling me this car was unadjustable straight off the hop, I'm like, well, I guess your eyes don't work, because there's actually quite a bit of adjustability. And yeah, to be honest, overall, I'm pleased with this offering, and that the fact Traxxas has jumped into the RWD drift world, and this being their first real attempt at doing a rear-wheel style drift car, yeah, they got it right. They got the front end right, they got the rear end right. Didn't get the servo right, mind you, but it's the Traxxas ecosystem. They have a faster high-speed servo. I'm sure they could do a pro version of this with the Spire speed servo. But yeah, this is very tunable, and this is a very capable platform in my eyes. It's been around for nearly, I'd say, 20-some years now, over 20 years. This thing, the Fortec platform has been available. And now finally, yeah, they've turned it into a drift platform, which is nice to see. So there's tons of part support, tons of spare cars and parts around. And the other cool thing is this car will accept regular-sized drift wheels. They fit right over that brake caliper. I've already tested it. They bolt right on. Already tested it. This body is the right correct wheelbasing and width for a Yokomo YD2 or an MST RMX, even a Red Cat. It'll fit right on, no problem. So there's that as well. So Traxxas, in my eyes, really got it right with all of this stuff. And if you hate it simply because it's a Traxxas, okay, fine, so be it. I hate the Red Cat because they didn't pay attention on the ball cups and their shock O-rings, like, you know, so same sort of thing. Like, you're just gonna hate it simply for what it is, then okay, fine, whatever. But otherwise, if you're looking for a capable, out-of-the-box rear-wheel drive drift car, and you don't want to spend upwards of $600 Canadian, you can spend $450 on this Canadian. And add batteries, and away you go. The $600 car, which is the MST or the YD2s, the $600-some RTRs, you have to add batteries to those too, so it's the same game. So yeah, and this comes with 2 sets of tires, so these are the indoor tires. The outdoor tires are on my shelf, but yeah, you have choice of what you want to do with that. And this is a very capable car for what it is here, with what you see and the price point and the performance you actually get out of the box. It's really a nice package, and I'm very pleased with it, and I can recommend it to absolutely anybody. Really, I would absolutely recommend it to anybody. Whether you're an experienced driver and you've driven hundreds of cars, and you're a high-end tuner and you know what's up, this is a great challenge for you. See what you can do with it. If you're somebody who's never had an RC car ever, and you're like, I love drifting and I want to get into the RC hobby, this is a great way to do it because it has the assisting modes. It doesn't have a ton of power, so you can learn how to handle this amount of power and then upgrade to something when you're more ready. And this is something I tell anyone, whether they buy a kit or they buy any of the RTR offerings. A lot of them, they have just the right amount of power, and this car for this setup and the 60 degrees of steering lock, this has the right amount of power for this platform. This is absolutely fine and is more than capable of drifting and doing trains and all that sort of stuff. But the first thing I'd upgrade is the servo. That's the first thing I'm going to change. I'm going to throw a Bad Shop OMG in that bad boy, and then we're going to see really what's what. And I think I'm really going to have a fun time driving this car. And then the next videos, a bunch of videos will be tuning it, and yeah, kind of sky's the limit. I think this platform will be around well, the Fortec will be around for quite some long other time as a regular RTR four-wheel drive basher kind of car, touring car, whatever. But as an RWD platform, I'm already seeing tons of aftermarket support, like people deciding they're going to make stuff for it, people 3D printing stuff for it, and people just doing basic tunings, like adding a bunch of spacers to the front end. Spacers here, and boom, look, we got 90 degrees. So, yeah, with that, people are going to start drifting now, because the track is open on this is a Wednesday drift session. I think it's like 5 o'clock, 5:30, whatever. Trevor's coming through. It's excellent curb riding. I give you 10 points for that. Yeah, so otherwise, Traxxas Fortec RTR RWD. I could totally recommend it. Bad Shop approved. Big shout out to Matt from Scale Builders Guild for lending me the car. And since I finally got this video up, he might let me keep it for another week or so while I decide I'm going to do the thing. Oh, I didn't get Trevor in the background of shot there. My camera was turned on. And Trevor's drifting in the back of shot. There he goes. But yeah, big shout out to Matt, and big shout out to Brian from Team Strictly Sideways for driving this car around for me, and also shout out to Trevor from Hit and Run for jumping on track and helping us do the tandemy things. Big shout out, there he goes. Got a gutter dip, yeah boy! And other than that, expect more videos of this Traxxas Fortec, because yeah, I'm excited. Until then, peace out, see you later. Bye bye!